Hey guys, welcome to Silver Tales, and I'll be your narrator today. My parents and sister covered up her affair for a year, so I anonymously exposed her, and now my husband is divorcing me because he says I have always been in love with my best friend. Hello, Reddit. I'm a 30-year-old woman, and I need to get this whole mess off my chest. It's a long story, so I'll try to keep it as straightforward as possible. I've always valued honesty. I mean, really valued it. Like, telling the truth, even when it's hard, is a big deal to me. My parents, Jackson, 64, who's my dad, and Emilia, 60, who's my mom, always talked about how important integrity was. They would go on and on about being truthful, doing the right thing, all that. And for a long time, I believed them. I really did. I thought they lived by those rules, but lately, well, things have changed. I've started seeing things differently. I'm starting to wonder if they were just saying the right words without really meaning them. It's like they had this image of themselves as good, honest people, but the reality that's turning out to be a bit different. I'm starting to see cracks in the foundation, little things that don't quite add up. And it's making me question everything I thought I knew about them and about what they taught me. This whole story is going to test everything, the values, the honesty, everything is about to be put on display. I'm sharing this now. Now, let me tell you about my sister, Carol. She's 27, 3 years younger than me, and well, to put it kindly, she has always been the favorite. Mom and dad just adore her. Always have. Growing up, it was always Carol this and Carol that. She could do no wrong in their eyes. If she got in trouble at school, it was always someone else's fault. If she broke something, it was an accident, no big deal. She had this way of charming them, battling her eyelashes, making them laugh, and she would get away with anything. Me, I had to follow all the rules, be the reasonable one. But honestly, I didn't really mind. I loved Carol. She could be a bit of a handful, sure, but she also had this amazing sense of humor. She could make anyone laugh. I figured she was just young, a little immature, and she would grow out of it eventually. She was just good at working the system, getting around consequences. It did not seem like a huge deal at the time. Plus, she's my little sister. I love spending time with her. There will come a time when Carol will find herself in a hole and will need to dig herself out of it. Her charm and her usual jokes might not do the trick this time. Then there's Kevin. Oh, Kevin. He's also 30, and he's been my best friend since middle school. We have been through everything together. He's just the best person I know. Seriously. He's kind, he's empathetic, he's always there for you no matter what. He's the type of guy who would stop to help a stranger change a tire or spend his weekends volunteering. In middle school, he would stand up to the bullies even if they were bigger than him. He would help classmates with their homework even if he had his own stuff to do. He was just genuinely good through and through. He doesn't just talk about being a good person, he actually lives it. He's always available for his family and friends, always ready to give a helping hand, dedicated to his work, thoughtful, really just a wonderful person. The type, the one that really should be appreciated. It has been great to have him in my life. He brings brightness. I always felt like the world needed more people like Kevin. He makes everything a little better just by being himself. But it breaks my heart to say that Kevin's pure heart is going to take advantage of. I wish I could stop it, but I can't. So, a few years ago, Kevin and Carol started dating. I was thrilled, honestly. I thought, this is perfect. My best friend and my sister together, it seemed like a dream come true. I really believed that Kevin's goodness would rub off on Carol. I thought he would help her mature, become a little more responsible. I kind of had this romanticized idea of it all. Like in those romantic comedies where the guy ends up with the right girl in the end, after some initial misunderstanding. I even remember having some fleeting thought that he was with my little sister, but then I would shake it off. It felt silly. And sometimes I wondered if I wasn't seeing things clearly, if maybe I had some hidden feelings for Kevin. But I pushed those thoughts away. I was happy for them. I really was. Plus, I had my own life. I'm married to Pete, who is 30, and he's amazing. We had a nice house, a good life. I was content. I was relieved, to be honest, to have my own separate world. I could still be friends with Kevin, hang out with him and Carol, and everything felt normal. But those feelings for Kevin, they were there, buried deep down, even before he got together with Carol. I just never admitted it to myself. It was this constant internal battle. I genuinely wanted Carol to be happy, and I truly believed Kevin could make her happy, but there was this part of me, this other part of me, a nagging voice that said it was wrong, that it was a mismatch, that Kevin deserved someone who appreciated his good heart. It felt like a betrayal of his potential happiness somehow. From the outside, things looked perfect. They seemed perfect, but it all came crashing down one evening after a family dinner. We had all been at my parents' house, me, Pete, Kevin, Carol, mom, and dad. It was a pretty typical Sunday dinner, lots of food, lots of talking. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But after dinner, as we were getting ready to leave, my parents pulled me aside. They wanted to talk to me privately. We went into the living room and they closed the door. And then, just like that, they told me Carol had been having an affair for a year, a whole year. I was stunned. I literally could not believe what I was hearing. My first reaction was just disbelief. I kept saying, "What? Are you serious?" It felt so surreal, but they were completely serious. And the worst part, they weren't upset about the affair itself. They were upset because they thought Carol was unhappy with Kevin. They said he wasn't fulfilling her, whatever that meant. Their main concern was Carol's happiness, no matter the cost. They basically justified the whole thing. They did not care that she was cheating on Kevin, my best friend, one of the kindest people I know. The position they had was very clear to me. It's okay to cheat as long as you are happy, and it got worse. They weren't just aware of the affair, they were actively helping her cover it up. They had been lying for her, making excuses for her, helping her sneak around. They were complicit, and they had no intention of telling Kevin. None. They said it would hurt him too much, that it was better for him not to know. Then they told me I could not tell him either. They said it was a family matter and that I needed to be loyal to Carol. They made it sound like telling Kevin would be the ultimate betrayal. They were basically asking me to choose between my best friend and my family. I was in complete turmoil. My head was spinning. I could not believe how casually they were talking about this, like it was no big deal. I kept asking them, "Doesn't Kevin deserve to know? Wouldn't you want to know if you were him?" They just brushed it off, saying it was different, that Carol's happiness was what mattered. They were using that phrase, protecting the family, as if keeping this huge secret was somehow protecting us. It felt like they were twisting everything around, manipulating me into staying silent. They kept emphasizing my family loyalty like it was a test. The guilt was immediate. I felt sick to my stomach. Every time I saw Kevin after that, I felt this crushing weight of the secret. He was his usual self, kind, caring, asking me for advice about his relationship with Carol, completely oblivious. He was so trusting, so genuinely good, and I was lying to him by omission. Every smile, every laugh felt like a betrayal. I started avoiding him. I would make excuses not to hang out. I would keep our conversations short. It was just too painful. I could not look him in the eye knowing what I knew. And the worst part was, I realized that by staying silent, I was becoming part of the deception. I was just as guilty as my parents and Carol. I was actively contributing to his pain. It was eating me alive. I knew this would be the situation if I keep quiet. I finally could not take it anymore and I told Pete everything. I needed someone to talk to, someone who wasn't involved in the family drama. He was shocked, of course, but he was also surprisingly calm. He understood why I was so torn, why I felt like I had to do something. But he also warned me. He said that getting involved could blow up in my face, that it could damage my relationship with my family, maybe even with Kevin. He thought it wasn't my place to intervene, that it was Kevin and Carol's problem, and that my actions might backfire. He had some points, but still, he wasn't as strongly against it as I expected, but he wasn't exactly supportive either. I was looking for someone to tell me I was doing the right thing, to validate my moral compass. I even compared the situation to our own marriage and asked him, what if it was me? What if I was cheating on you? Would you want someone to tell you? He said it was different, but I didn't see how. Pete's advice, while logical, did not change how strongly I felt. I needed to do something, and his lack of strong validation, that feeling that he wasn't fully on my side, just made me more determined to act. I needed to be sure. So I made a decision. I was going to tell Kevin, even though I knew it would be messy, even though I knew it could ruin my relationship with my family. I could not stand by and let him be lied to anymore. But I was terrified. I was terrified of my own parents' reaction, of Carol's anger, of the whole thing blowing up. So I decided to do it anonymously. I wrote him a letter. I did not sign it, of course. I just laid out the facts. I gave him specific details, things that only someone who knew about the affair would know, so he would be able to verify it. I did not want to hurt him. I truly didn't. My intention was to give him the truth, so he could make his own decisions. I knew it would be painful, but I thought it was better than living a lie. It was agonizing writing that letter. I rewrote it so many times, trying to find the right words, trying to be as gentle as possible. I kept thinking about how he would react, how much it would hurt him. Then I mailed it. I used a public mailbox far from my house and generic paper, anything to make sure it could not be traced back to me. I know being anonymous was less impactful, that it would be easier for my family to dismiss, but I was just too scared of the direct confrontation. The wait after mailing it was torture. I was constantly checking my phone, jumping at every notification, dreading the inevitable fallout. I wasn't sure what to expect. And then it happened. Kevin confronted Carol. I wasn't there, of course, but I heard about it later. Apparently, he showed her the letter, and at first she denied everything. But he had the details, the proof, and she finally broke down and admitted it. He moved out immediately. He packed his bags and left that same day. My parents were furious, absolutely livid. They blamed the anonymous informant, whoever it was, for ruining Carol's life. They said it was a betrayal, a coward's move. They could not understand why someone would do such a thing. And Carol, she was playing the victim. She was blaming the letter, blaming the revelation, instead of taking responsibility for her own actions. She was acting like she was the one who had been wronged. It was unbelievable. The immediate fallout was exactly what I feared, a complete explosion. But even though it was terrifying, it also validated my decision. I knew I had done the right thing, even if it was the hardest thing I had ever done. Kevin was devastated. I heard he was staying with a friend, completely heartbroken. We did not talk much at first. I was too scared. I was terrified he would find out it was me, terrified of his anger, his disappointment. I kept my distance, giving him space, but the silence was almost worse. Knowing how much pain he was in, and knowing I was partly responsible for it, was incredibly difficult. It reinforced my guilt, but it also strengthened my resolve. I knew I had done the right thing, even if it hurt. I had to believe that. I finally told Pete that I had sent the letter. He was livid. He was so angry with me. He said I had interfered in something that wasn't my business, that I had caused unnecessary drama, and that I had damaged multiple relationships, including our own. He thought I had completely overstepped, that it was none of my business, and that I should have stayed out of it. He told me I needed to apologize to my family, to admit I had made a mistake. But I could not do that. I did not think I had made a mistake. I told him that Kevin deserved to know the truth, that it was the right thing to do, no matter how messy it got. I stood my ground. I just did not agree with him. I kept thinking about my parents, about Carol, and how they had not shown a single ounce of remorse. They were just angry that the secret was out, not that the affair had happened. I knew in my heart that I had done the right thing for Kevin. Even if it meant hurting him in the short term, I had given him the truth, the agency to make his own choices. I could see Pete's point of view. I understood why he was angry, but I could not waver. I could not pretend I regretted doing what I knew was right, but the distance between us, between me and Pete, it was growing. It was like this invisible wall had gone up. We were still living together, but it was awkward, tense. We weren't connecting the way we used to, and I started to doubt myself. I began to question the choices I had made. So, guys, what do you think? Now, this narrator has told us about this situation here, and personally, I feel that she did the right thing because, being cheated upon is very bad. I mean, I have known some people who had been cheated upon, and it is really pitiful. They have to go through so much in a relationship after that betrayal. So, as per me, uh, OP did the right thing, and it was the right thing to do for Kevin. What are your opinions and comments? Please do tell me if she did the right thing or if she should not have done it. Update 1. Hi everyone, I'm back with an update. First, I want to address some of the comments on my original post. A lot of you said I should have stayed out of it, that it wasn't my place to interfere. I get it. I understand that perspective. But I still believe I did the right thing, even if it was messy. My parents and Carol were never going to tell Kevin. They were perfectly content to let him live a lie, as long as it kept Carol happy. Someone had to tell him, and I could not stand by and watch him be deceived.